Welcome, everybody, to the sixth episode of the NACP podcast. I'm your host, Calvin, and I'm joined today with my co-host, Leo.
Hello. After a bit of a delay, we're back. We're back.
Yep, took a break week. And we have a special guest this week. We have Connor.
Hello.
New people might not know him because he hasn't been in the DOP.
Yeah.
But he's been in past tournaments. He's been in a tournament and a half now. So he's been around for a bit. And has been meaning to get on the show. And we picked a good week to get him on, I think. Because we got a lot
Finally have some time, yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so this podcast is not going to be strictly a Draft of Power conversation, especially since the Draft of Power is coming to a close here. We've finally finished off with the regular season. We're moving on to playoffs. So we figured we'd start branching out and talk about other things. And it was a pretty good news week, I think.
This will be a nice trial episode to see what our episodes are going to look like in off-season. Is the plan that we got here. So hopefully it's still enjoyable. We'll do our best.
We'll try.
Yeah. All right, Calvin. Do we want to get into this then?
Sure thing. So we're going to jump right into the Week 9 recap, the final week of the season. So there was only technically one game for everybody, but obviously there's two buys. So two people didn't even get to play. Everybody else had one match. This was a very eventful week. Now, I know we didn't really get to talk. Well, obviously, last week we didn't have an episode, but there were some really important games this week. Like, very important. Like, if you win, you get into the playoffs. If you lose, you're out.
We've been saying right from the get-go that those final couple of spots were up for grabs up until the very end of it. That's the nice part about the size of the tournament that we're dealing with and the size of the playoff bracket that we're dealing with, where we've got an exciting final week, and that's pretty lucky because I feel like for a lot of leagues it's pretty easy for things to get stagnant, for some people to start running away with it right from the very beginning, and for things to get a little uncompetitive. But I think it's great that, God, the last 3 spots really have been up for grabs every single week, and even down to this week, we have games that absolutely were the deciding factor between who is going and who is not going to playoffs.
Yeah, we've had some... I mean, it's coming down to differentials as far as where certain people are going to be placed, too. So It's really close.
Yeah. So, starting things off, Hayden had a good end of his season here. He defeated Kelsey in a pretty close match. I don't think there was really a way for him to get in unless everybody else kind of choked. Certain people would have had to lose
and lose bad.
Or have much closer matches for him to get in, and he would have had to practically 6-0 Kelsey to get into the playoffs, which he didn't do. But he jumped up to a comfortable 9th, so pretty typical for Hayden. Not trying to shit on Hayden or anything, but he usually does etch on the end of getting in or out of playoffs in his past seasons. So he's sitting pretty much usually where I would expect Hayden to sit at the end of the season. Right in the middle, 7-8, -6 differential, 9th place. Pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
Not a bad season.
For sure. Yep.
You want to talk about
Laurel? So Laurel beat Kyler. +4, so it was pretty good. But it was a pretty good match, and it was really important. Both of them are 7-8. Laurel ended up with a 0 differential, which was just above Hayden to get her into the playoffs. So it was really an important match for her, and she came in knowing that she had to do well this week, and she's a solid player, and she definitely deserved the spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, no kidding. She definitely did after the really strong showing that she had at the very beginning of the season. It would have been a bummer.
Yeah, she started 3-0, 4-0 right away.
She was first place for
4-0. First 4-0, yeah. She was doing really well.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Kelsey. As we talked about before, she had a match with Hayden. Ended up losing that one to a -2 to finish the season off with a 1-14. We're happy to see that Kelsey managed to get out of the season with the W under her belt, and I'm sure she'll be a lot more competitive next time this comes around because she's improved a lot over the course of the season. And those numbers are a bit misleading because I think she's a better player than those numbers let them on to be. So, good season, Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. So, Leo, you had a bit of a surprise loss this week.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, but honestly, I think it was a very great match, despite the loss he took to Dan.
Oh, I
-1.
was saying the same thing right coming out of it. I was happy with that.
Yeah, it was a really cool match. I recommend you guys go watch it. There's some unexplored mechanics. Very surprising. I would not have known that a prankster Bennett using Destiny Bond in the psychic terrain would work.
I really thought that I won that game.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
I really thought I won that game.
Like, that was crazy. So
a literal 1% difference in health between the winner and the loser on that one. It was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a very close game. It was a good one.
But as far as standings here, yeah, you took the loss, which is unfortunate because you actually lost your third place spot.
Yeah.
So dropping down to fourth, but like fourth out of 16, that is like tremendous. You've been in the top, the top 5 for like the majority of the season, if not all the season. Like,
yeah, I had a rough maybe week and a half, I think, coming out of it. I think I had like a bad first week, and then everything else went pretty solid. So I'm happy with that standing at the end. I'm excited for playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Ross defeated Steven +5 differential, so it was pretty good. And it moved him up to third place. He's 11-4 for the season, and with a pretty solid +14 differential overall. Ross has been solid as long as I've been in the group. He's always in the top couple people, and it's no real surprise to see him up here. He's a very good player, and he's going to be a real competitor to win this playoff.
Yeah, definitely one to look out for. Another playoff contender, William, makes it in just by the skin of his teeth with that 8th place spot, coming in with a final differential of, or a final win-loss ratio, of 7 and 8, thanks to his defeat, or his victory rather, over Sean. His defeating of Sean. I misspoke. Good job to William. Congratulations on making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Definitely did not see that coming. But this tournament has been full of surprises. Unfortunately, though, Lewis had a bye week, which actually really hurt him, especially with these really close final matches. So him sitting at the 6 wins looked pretty decent compared to everybody else, but obviously he was done last week. So definitely hurt his standings here. Sat at 14th, unfortunately, and didn't have a chance at playoffs here. But Lewis is a good player. He's a good, consistent player, I'd say. He's always been really competitive. His matches are usually very close. And I think with his experience in this draft league, I think moving on into future tournaments, I can see him doing even better, I think.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He's a heavy hitter over in the CBA side of things, I know. So I'm not surprised that he made some waves this time around. Bit of a bummer to have the bye week in the final week and just have to see the standing move without much to do about it. But he was a strong competitor the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean lost to William this week with a -3. He made a risky trade at the start of the week to go a little more aggressive. Didn't quite pay off, but Sean's been a good player. I'm surprised to see him in 13th. Win-loss is 6-9, and he's, I think, the only person with a positive differential and a negative win-loss, which is interesting to see in itself. It shows that he's a good player and he knows what he's doing. He's had some unlucky situations and losses, but he's done well this season, and it just didn't quite work out for him.
Moving on to Chris, who defeated Luke with a +5, a big win for him. He maintains that 6th place spot and has that spot reserved for him in the playoffs. In the next couple of weeks, he finishes the season with an 8-7 win-loss ratio and a differential of +9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an important match for Chris. If he had lost, if he had lost that, he still had a chance of making it to playoffs. Very slim, but he could have been knocked out. As simply as that. But he managed to hold on there. But Kyler, on the other hand, wasn't so fortunate. The second important match here was his match with Laurel. Unfortunately, he lost that one. But still, Kyler did really well throughout the season. This was his first major draft league, if I'm correct. He's played in some of the bracket tournaments before, but this was the first major thing. Still came really close, 7-8, -10 differentials. Not the best, but hey, you came in here more than 50-50, which is good. Sitting at 11th, I think that's going to be good for putting him on the standings.
Yeah. Reggie had a bye this week. Win-loss 11-4, second place with a crazy +32 differential. He's been top of our bracket the whole season. He's got a really, really solid team, some good Pokemon, and he knows how to use them really well, and it's definitely showing. He'll be another strong contender in these playoffs.
Definitely. Moving on to Luke, who we just talked about his match with Chris, where he lost pretty handily, unfortunately, at a -5 and just narrowly misses playoffs as a result of that loss. He finishes the season with a 7-8 win-loss ratio and a -7 differential, sitting in 10th place. I'll notice a common theme with all these 7 and 8s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a couple of them.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of them. But onto myself here. I defeated Shane in a very close match. This is a pretty cool one. Head admins of both groups going at it. So definitely one to go see. And Shane, hey, I beat you fair and square this time, so you can't say I beat you with hacks. I did, to be fair, I did hack some in the UU League, but this time I did not.
It's a good dramatic game.
I came out of this season pretty much better than I thought, especially going into it, taking all those L's really early on. Surprised I ended up at first, but yeah, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, 13-2. Were both your losses like right away? They were pretty early on, weren't they?
Oh yeah, I took a big L against Reggie. I was the first guy to fight him. I didn't know how good he was, and he crushed me pretty good. Yeah. And then took a really stupid loss against Dave.
That's right.
But then I also lost to Ross, which was a really close, good match.
Yeah. So moving on to Dan, who beat Leo this week, which we talked about already, but it was a really, really close one.
Yeah.
Some interesting tech coming out of Dan's end that worked out really well for him. Still, that Prankster Destiny bond is something else, but
it's pretty good.
Yeah, ended up 7-8 again. Just lost out on differentials, unfortunately, this time. But coming in partway through the season, he ended up doing pretty well with what he had and finished in 12th place. So not bad overall, for sure.
Do you know Mega Bennett has a 165 base attack?
Yes, I did.
165. Wow.
That's part of the reason why I would want to click Moon Blast in that thing's face, because Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Moving on to Shane, who had a close loss to Calvin, as we just talked about, and that loss maintains his 5th place spot. He finished the season with a 9-6 win-loss ratio and a +10 differential. Another strong splash for a newcomer to the league. Not that we didn't expect that with his pedigree over on the CBA side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shane was a really good contender this season.
Mm-hmm. Still is.
Still is. He has a great shot at winning this thing. So, but finally, we end up things off with Steven. Took a loss to Ross. Unfortunate, but Ross has a great team. It's kind of hard to beat it. But 2-13, Steven got a couple wins here, and he got a lot of great experience. So, yeah, the win-loss is bad, the differential's bad, but I think you're going to take a newer player like that's going to take more from these tournaments than a more experienced player like myself. You're gaining so much.
There's a lot more to learn.
Speaking from experience, you learn a lot in these tournaments. I came into the last tournament I participated in knowing almost nothing and learned a lot over the course of it, for sure. It's a lot of fun.
And you guys might be thinking, oh, well, I'm always going to be last, blah, blah, blah. You take a look at someone in third place named Ross, and that guy came last place in 2 consecutive large draft leagues when he first came in. And look at him now, beating my ass, beating other people's ass, getting third.
He beat my ass too.
Best drafted team. God damn.
Yeah,
You stick with it, you can go places.
for sure. A lot of room to grow.
Just we ask that you not get discouraged by maybe a weaker performance in the DOP, and hopefully take that as a learning experience rather than something to be, I don't know, sad about or feeling, unmotivated as a result of this. No, take that stuff, learn from it, and come and kick people's asses in the next league. Then we don't go too long without having one going on.
Exactly.
We all start getting the itch after a couple months.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long.
Yep.
All right, then. Do we want to take this opportunity to transition into some playoff talk?
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it. All right. So, very quickly, I'm going to talk about how the playoffs are going to be run for some people who don't like reading. Not going to mention names, but some people don't know how to read. So, if you can listen at least, here's how it's going to go. So, obviously, the top 8 players who get in are going to play. So, this is myself, Reggie, Ross, Leo, Shane, Chris, Laurel, and William. We're all in. Basically, how it's going to work is this current week right now, is a break week. So we will not be playing any matches. Next week, though, we will schedule a single day to play the quarter and semifinal matches. So basically how it's going to work is the brackets. We were going to randomize them, but I don't think that's very competitive. I think we want to start trying to make this more professional and planned and reward placements. So we're going to go with the traditional 1 versus 8, 4 versus 5, 3 versus 6, and 2 versus 7. So which means 1 versus 8, that's going to be myself versus William. 4 versus 5, that is Leo versus Shane. That's going to be the first bracket to the left. And then the next bracket, 3 versus 6, which is Ross versus Chris. And 2 versus 7, which is Laurel versus Reggie. Basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to the playoff tournament prepared with 3 teams, at least minimum 3 teams. So for, say, Leo, who is sitting at 4th, he will come prepared with obviously his first opponent, which is Shane, but he also has to come prepared with a team for myself and for William, whoever would win that bout. And then we will move on and play those matches afterwards. We will then take a break, a 1-week break from the point of that playoffs until the finals match is played. And all of these matches are going to be best of 3. You do not have to bring the same team to all 3 matches. So obviously, if you want to put in the extra work, you can make multiple teams. Obviously, the reason we do that is because I can't enforce that rule to force you to bring the same team every time, because I'd have to do damage calc for every single turn, both sides. Just to verify you're not cheating. So, but yeah, that's how it's going to go. We'll talk about scheduling and stuff in the actual chat. We'll figure out the dates and stuff, and we'll do a big post.
Yeah, that'll be something that has to be done cooperatively with everybody that's made playoffs.
Yeah. Cool. So with that knowledge, what are your thoughts, guys?
We spent a lot of time deciding whether or not the right choice was to do seeded placements or to do randomized placements as far as the bracket, and I think we're making the right choice and kind of doing a good job of hedging our bets for future increasingly more professionally run draft leagues, and I think making the more uniform playoff format is going to be a good step towards that. I think it'll be something that people appreciate.
Yeah, in previous tournaments when there's only been 4 people in playoffs, it being randomized first seeded didn't make as much of a difference, but with 8 people, I think it definitely does make an impact. Just little piece of advice for everyone in the playoffs: everyone in here is a good player, and it's generally going to be the people who come more prepared that are going to win these. So take your time and make sure you prep the teams ahead of time and be ready to come to all your matches.
We have that break week for a reason. I know I'm going to be using that to
Yep.
really go ham and make sure that I'm ready for everything, and not get caught with my pants down like I did against a couple of the opponents that I'm going to be facing against this next couple of weeks. And I'm sure that a lot of everybody else is feeling the same way about that, because we've all played against the people. At least, we've all had at least, I shouldn't say at least, but we've all had a game against every other opponent in here. We know how we square up. We know our teams square up, and we know what mistakes and what proper predictions ended up giving us either the W or the L last time we played against them. So keep all that in mind. Take all those lessons to heart, and do your best to be as prepared for this thing as possible, because you can bet your ass that everybody else is going to be putting 110% into the prep work on this one. I'm having a really difficult time talking today, apparently.
It's all good. Yeah. This is probably going to be the most robust playoffs we've ever had. 8 people. Man, I've been wanting to do this for so long.
It's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting.
I remember when we passed that threshold, that 16-player threshold of the Draft of Power all those months ago, and God, what a big deal that felt like. And now we're here at the end of it and seeing the full reward of having expanded the draft league so much. And playoffs are really where those expansions are going to shine.
Mm-hmm. Just a moment to talk about the people who made it, and just the amount of work that it took to get in is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I know 2 matches a week, prepping as hard as you can, making strategic trades. The time and effort that goes into it is a lot, especially if you want to do well. If you want to just play to just get experience and whatnot, you don't have to put that much effort in. But I can say, looking at every single one of these players, I know they've put in the work. I've seen up in close proximity people put in the work. Obviously, William and Laurel, I know them in person. I've seen them. You guys do not know the amount of work, especially Laurel, has to do to remain competitive. She, for that last match with Chris, she literally had 5 entire pages of notes prepared for that match.
That's awesome.
Ridiculous. And William, the fact that guy came into this tournament just wanting experience like everybody else, and the fact that he has drastically improved and coming out of nowhere and just beating top players and barely making playoffs. I would have never expected that. Never in a million years.
Yeah, it was really good for him to do, for sure.
Yeah. And then we get someone like Chris, who he's lingered in our group for a while. I'm not sure how long, but I know he's been an inactive member for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to just come in and just do so well, it was very cool.
Yeah.
He's one of the more surprising names on here for me, because some people shone like right out of the gate, like even having not played any games with Reggie before, as soon as you saw Reggie's first week or 2 of games, you knew that he was going to be a contender here.
Yeah.
Despite having never been in a league draft, in a league format before. And Chris didn't have quite the absolute meteoric, just crazy showcase for the early weeks that Reggie had to really show that he was a top contender here, but he lurked a lot of the time, got wins towards the end of the season when they really mattered, and ended up coming in clutch at the end here as a surprise contender, and he's going to be an exciting one to watch, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for
and
sure.
then, Shane, I kind of knew from the start Shane was going to make it in because from his experience, he's had draft experience before, and obviously from the tournaments I played against him and seen him play, he's done pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he was going to be a pretty good contender coming into this. And then we got some of the regulars of our group just stepping up. Like, obviously, Leo, yourself, you've been around for a while, and I think this is one of your best showings in a tournament. Just, you've done really well for yourself, honestly. There's points where you were like the only guy representing our group at the top. Like, it was scary for a while there, just not seeing any of us, and then you're just like the only one holding on to third, holding on to. I'm pretty sure you were second at something.
The highest I hit was second, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the new guys grabbed out of those spots early and didn't let go of them.
Reggie's still up there, number
Reggie's
2.
Still up there. Reggie never left.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy he's had a great season.
Yeah.
Definitely was the mysterious newcomer of the group, and just
totally stepped up and put in work.
The one thing that's cool to see about the playoffs versus the early stuff especially is that people spent so much time like really finely detailing what they wanted to do with their teams and being really specific about trades. I don't think there's really a team on this list that you could say is in a weaker state than it was at the beginning. Pretty much everybody has made beneficial trades, and everybody's kind of reached peak form, and it's going to make these playoffs really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of the trades have been really good.
I know my team is a hell of a lot better now than it was at the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah. Hexer's trade was big for you.
Hexer's was great. Even, I know the buy sharp has not done anything. It's still a deterrent. It's a deterrent. It's better on the ladder, but
yeah,
I still think it's decent.
There
was a lot of good. There was definitely a lot of cool, like, last minute trades these last couple weeks to just try and gain some late game advantages. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Sean, the Hoopa Unbound trade was, you could tell he got serious. Even Williams' team, I think those last minute trades were very important. Especially, I had a good long conversation with him, and he was not feeling good about the tournament. And I was like, you know what you need to do? Look at your last couple matches, point out who the biggest threat is, and completely counter team that guy. Mm-hmm. Pick the 2 Pokemon that just counter him. And he did it, and look where he's sitting now. It obviously worked. Like, he countered Ross, and now he's in playoffs. Who else made a good trade near the end? Shane. Shane's team has really drastically changed, actually.
Yeah.
He made the full 5 trades, and he's been bringing offensive teams. So he's definitely going in. He's a bit of a wild card, I think, with what he can bring.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I kind of redrafted what I started with. Weirdly enough, I kind of went in a big circle of what I had and what I went with, because I stand by with what I wanted, my vision. It was just I needed to get something that can do it better. So I have Thunderous back, which I don't think anyone has ever done that, by the way.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then retraded it, got it back.
Mm-hmm.
Ross almost did it in the middle there when he dropped Tyranitar for Superior and then immediately traded Superior the week after.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. I think you are the only one that I've ever seen trade something out and pick it back up later, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that before either.
I'm glad.
It's obviously worked.
We'll see. Definitely got some scary matchups. So now that we have a clear view of who's in now, who do you think's actually going to make it? Who would you put money on is going to win this thing? Especially since now we know who's fighting who in the brackets.
Mm-hmm.
I think my prior prediction's going to stand, just by the way I see things.
Okay.
So before I said it's going to be Leo and Reggie in the finals, and I kind of stand by that based on what I see here. So Shane versus Leo. I think Leo, you have every advantage in the book against that guy.
I'm not letting
No
myself screw
offense
that
to
one up
Shane.
again.
Yeah, just don't misplay, and I think you've got it. Easier said than done, right? But you have your home field advantage of best of 3, right?
I do.
So,
I like that. I like those odds. I like that environment.
I'm so happy to get off that.
basically, I see myself beating William, and then it'll be me and Leo, and I think Leo's going to beat me. I'll lose in the semis, and then Leo will move on to finals, and then Reggie versus Laurel. I think Reggie is going to win.
I agree with that.
Chris versus Ross. I see Ross beating it, and then Ross versus Reggie. Like Ross has the tools. Ross does have the tools to do it, but I think Reggie's going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be you and Reggie in the finals, and that's really hard to say. But I think you have
everybody.
Maybe
everybody's got their
maybe
tools.
a 60% chance.
A 60%.
Maybe I'll go 60 to you, 40 to Reggie. That's how I'll say.
Well, I like
that's my
like
prediction.
those odds. I'll keep those odds in mind. My favorite contender coming out of Group B, honestly, I like Ross a little bit better than I like Reggie. I know that Ross is good under pressure. He's good at keeping a cool head, and I know that he's very analytical with things. And I think that he has the tools to get around Reggie's team. And I see him being the one to get to the finals out of Group B. As far as the A group goes, our group, Calvin, I feel like it could go to any of you, me, or Shane. I feel like there's a pretty decent chance, give or take a couple of percentage points here and there for each person. But God, that could go any way.
Well, I'll say this: if Shane beats you and it's me and Shane, 100% win.
I think you will too.
But if it's me and you, then I don't. I don't know.
I have my fingers crossed. I'm not gonna mess with karma and put bets on anybody right now, but I'm excited about it.
You guys have some stakes in this.
Yeah.
I think you make a good point about the Ross versus Reggie matchup. Ross definitely does perform well under pressure. He's shown that in the past. But Reggie's he's exceeded all expectations every moment he could in this tournament, and I don't think he's going to stop. I can see Reggie going all the way with this.
I could too, easily.
I can definitely see Reggie just taking it and showing us that the new guy can definitely just step up and win.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Group A, yeah, that's a really tight group. And Calvin's obviously the favorite, being you've shown that you've done really well overall in the season. Leo versus Shane was a really close game. I do think Leo has a little bit of the upper hand just with the team advantage. But Group A could go any way, and then it's just going to be whoever comes out of Group A versus probably. I think it'll be Reggie. We'll see, but I could see Reggie taking it overall.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to give you anywhere close to a definitive. But
no, I don't know if I could put numbers anywhere in here.
Huge players at play here.
Everyone in this playoff is very, very good and very capable of winning with the teams that they have. And I could definitely see some underdogs coming up and taking it too.
Yeah.
You never know with these.
Well, that's another thing. Like, who knows? Like, Williams taken down Titans before, and people have been like, whatever. Like, I even thought that. Like, those 2 matches that he won, those last 3 matches he played, I had, like, next to nothing to do with him, because people are always like, oh, you just play his matches. Well, I never play anybody's matches. I'll help team build a lot. Anybody who asks me, I'll help team build. I love it. But I actually didn't prep anything for that guy. He asked me to look over his team just to make sure he's not missing EVs anywhere or anything. But besides that, He went to Ross and beat him fair and square on his own. He went to Sean and beat him fair and square on his own. Same with Kelsey. So who knows? Maybe he's going to come in here and kick my ass and redeem himself from our fateful match in the very first tournament we ever had. So who knows? Who knows?
It's going to be
even
fun
Chris.
It's going to be a fun
Yeah, it is.
Chris.
It'll be exciting.
I'm excited to see what Chris does.
He's got such a good bulky team. Like that's the one thing that's
a lot
so,
of potential.
Yeah.
It's
so fucking annoying playing against him. He's just the Snorlax and Suicune is stupid, man. It's just annoying.
No, I have unlimited special bulk here, and unlimited physical bulk here, and both of them have rest, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where you just can never one shot them, and it's like, even with Z moves and stuff, and all they got to do is just switch, and it's like it's just annoying to play against. So I think he even has a good shot. I don't know.
And he's shown that he's
I
done
love
pretty
it.
well with predicting and playing around them really, really well. So we'll see how he uses it in these playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's pretty thorough.
Yeah.
I think that's the most you're going to get out of us here. You're just going to have to stay up to date with playoffs. We're going to be doing big posts for when they're up and going.
Oh yeah.
And I invite as many people to join the Discord call as possible. Support the people you want to win.
We're gonna make
It's
a
cool.
event out of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be involved in the group, come talk with people. We're here to make friends. We're here to cheer on who's in and support, and it helps motivate us to keep doing this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Absolutely. All right. We want to put a pin in the DOP talk for the time being and move on.
Talk about some news.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
some juicy stuff too.
I'm excited.
Big things happening.
Yeah. So we are among Generation 8.
Yeah.
That is crazy, and it's on the Switch. God damn, I gotta pay $400 for a Switch now.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing.
I'm real happy I have my Switch.
There are other reasons to get a Switch. It's a great console, but
Well,
yeah.
if you were a diehard Wii U owner like me and you already have the Switch library, it's kind of annoying.
That's fair.
But
I wasn't a diehard Wii U owner, but I had a lot of Wii U stuff. I not too many of the stuff that's crossed over, thankfully, but enough. So where do we want to get started on this journey into the Galar region? Galar.
Well, let's just start how everybody starts on their journey. Let's talk about the starters.
Starters, yeah.
So we want to pick a team right here, real quick. What's everybody's team? What
Ooh.
team are you picking?
Well, you know what, Connor? You're the special guest. You choose first.
I've been diehard that stereotypical fire. Every game I pick, I'll play through it multiple times, but my first time will always be the fire. I don't know what it is about it, but I love the typing, and I feel like a lot of the later gyms, it turns into a challenge. A lot of the later gyms end up being water or something that makes it a struggle for the fire gym or for the fire Pokemon, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. And Scorbunny's concept could go so many different ways. I'm really hoping it doesn't turn into the firefighting.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. I'm really hoping it doesn't, but we'll see.
I think Fire Ground is most likely for Scorbunny.
Fire Ground would be really cool.
Oh, that would be so good.
I think Fire Ground would be really cool. I could potentially see a Fire Fairy coming out of this, just because it doesn't exist yet, and it'd be kind of fun to see that in a starter. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Scorbunny. I'm curious what its evolution chain looks like.
Yeah. Calvin, where are you taking this?
Oh, I got to go with the type I always pick. Grookey or Grookey. How would you say it?
I think it's Grookey.
Grookey.
Yeah.
I love grass types. Ever since Generation 1, I picked Bulbasaur, and I loved it from the anime, and I liked it in the games. But yeah, I love this grass monkey. It's a better looking Simusage.
Yep.
Doesn't take
That's
much.
for sure. That's also true.
let's hope that they do him more competitive justice than that Pokemon.
Mhm.
But I can see some cool potential from kind of similar to Scorbunny. I think there's some unexplored type combinations that people have kind of been looking over with Grookey, and it interests me. So when I see a monkey, I'm thinking kind of medium speed, medium to high. Like I know there's some slower monkeys, but I
could
kind of
see. Yeah.
I don't know where they would go with him. I'd like to say they go speedy.
I want them all to be fast, like make up for last generation.
I could see all of them being fast. I could also see Grookey turning to like a big hulking gorilla
Yeah,
and being
for
slow
sure.
and bulky.
I could see that too. Yeah.
I
we'll
predict
have to see.
Scorbunny to end up being the fastest starter that we've ever had.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that too.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Grookey will maybe be middle of the road speed. My personal vote is I want, and I think that the music theme is going to end up being the thing that defines him, which is why I think that he's going to end up being a little bit faster, maybe have some sound base, with hidden ability implications. My personal vote, I would love it to be Grass Rock. I think that would be really cool.
That would be cool.
Okay.
Like a fast, kind of hard hitting Grass Rock type. That'd be an interesting type for an
That'd
offensive.
be terrifying.
Weirdly enough, what I was thinking, because in the trailer they have him with his like stick, right?
Yeah.
He's got it like a staff, and
Yeah.
when I think of like a staff, because he used it like a staff,
Yep.
that kind of makes you think of like a mage almost.
See, I
So
thought he used it like a
weirdly-
drumstick.
Or-
He was beating
That's
on the
true.
rock.
That's true. If they were to go with like a fast, like a grass psychic type,
That'd be really cool.
that would be so unique. And it just think about it. He's got a stick. What does that mean he's going to get? Please give him Woodhammer. We have a Pokemon that is faster than base 60 with Woodhammer. Stab. Like, I think that would be so cool.
It would be very cool. I also think that if any of these end up being psychic, it's a good opportunity to introduce some new physical psychic moves, which I think would be cool because there's not a lot of those.
Agreed. And then for hidden ability, give him guts, fast conkle direction or something. Woodhammer? I don't know. But yeah. What about you, Leo? Who would you pick?
I'm glad that we cut it up this way because, and this is unprompted. I'm all about Sobble. I think that little fin on Sobble's head is a sail that is going to carry him into like a nautical boat themed giant water lizard. And I think that he could potentially my two things that I would love. Either Water Dragon Loch Ness Monster themed. I think the series has gone on.
So cool.
I think the series is at a point where it can handle a dragon type starter.
I think you're right.
If I can't get that, I would love a really. I would still like speed, but if it's crazy bulky, I'm all about my bulky mons. That's fine. And I would like it to be a water ghost ship themed.
That'd be pretty
Pokemon.
cool.
And I think that would be kind of fitting too, because it fits with the sort of naval implications of this being a Great Britain set region.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think that ghost ship theme is the more likely option, just because of what we saw from in the trailer.
I mean, Loch Ness is more of a European thing too, though. And
it is, yeah.
That's definitely a potential.
And the camouflage thing sort of fits in with the idea of it being like, because like, oh, Nessie, only ever appears in blurry photos, so it can turn invisible. Or that could be an implication that it turns into something of a ghost type, which I think could also be cool. I want the water dragon first and foremost, but thematically, ghost ship, water ghost, pretty dope.
What's your name for the water dragon, Leo?
I don't have a name for the water dragon, but for the ghost ship.
The ghost ship, yeah.
The ghost ship one should definitely be called Dreadnought for the final evolution. No question there.
Yeah, I think that's a great name.
Yeah, but Sobble is definitely going to be my pick. I think it's the coolest.
I'm really
Well,
excited
hey,
to see these
that's
evolutions.
awesome.
Yeah, this is.
I think they have a lot of potential.
I think the coolest set of like first generation starters that we've had in a while. I don't think any
Yeah.
of them are making me go crazy like Rowlet did, because I thought Rowlet was just incredible right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But these guys have a lot of potential.
yeah, they definitely do.
Kind of while we're on the topic of starters, what would you say are your favorite generation for starters?
Oh boy.
I think Gen 3 and Gen 4 are the best starters.
Ooh.
I think Gen 4 is my favorite.
Gen 4 I prefer
Nice.
over Gen 3. I love Gen 4.
Yeah. Chimchar, Piplup, and Turtwig were awesome. Obviously, going into Infernape, Empoleon, and Torterra, which having the firefighting was a little disappointing after it being not too long after Blaziken, but still a new theme with the monkey and for Infernape, and then the water steel was really really cool with Empoleon. That
Oh,
was
man.
really what sold it for me.
Best typing.
Yeah.
Think that.
Yeah,
I
I
really
think
do
I'd-
think that's like the best typing that a starter Pokemon has ever had.
It's pretty
Water
good.
steel or the fire dark on Incineroar is pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That is good. Mm-hmm.
That is pretty good.
Like I know they already did it with Houndoom, but like Incineroar is way better than Houndoom.
Oh, yeah.
a lot better.
Not even
Intimidate.
close.
Amazing.
Intimidates. Dumb.
Yeah, if I had to go with a generation though, I like Gen 6 because I like the theme. And I think that's where they really picked up on the theming a lot.
Oh, it is.
Because they
That's where that
did
started.
the whole the knight, the mage, and the ninja. And I really like that. And I feel like there's a lot of good potential for theming these guys too.
Definitely.
Like I said, we were all kind of speculating. So
I'm sure there's gonna be some really specific binding element to these guys' final evolution. Can't wait for leaks. I've already gotten some, though none that are really all that trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything? Where else should we take this journey? You think?
Well,
News.
what do you think of Sword and Shield is the name? Obviously, the British. What's the word? I'm blanking at the moment.
Motif?
Yeah, that's it. Has something to do with it in the medieval period and all that kind of stuff. But, normally the names will have something to do with, the two different teams that you're fighting against, whether it be Team Sword, Team Shield, or it could potentially have something to do with the legendary Pokemon that we're dealing with. Which ones do you think it would be? Which one would you want it to be? How do you think it'll work into the game?
I think it's more likely that it's something to do with the villain team.
Yeah.
Sword and Shield seems too binding of a theme to base a whole mythos around it as far as designing legendaries goes. So I think that Sword and Shield is going to involve some kind of story element, and more importantly than that, I could see Sword and Shield potentially being something of a hint towards a new major battle mechanic, in much the same way that Gen 6 made its big calling card Mega Evolution and Gen 7 made its big calling card Z move. I could see some new substantial either battle mechanic or evolution mechanic that has something to do with, there were leaks about something called armor evolution, which seems a little far-fetched to me, but I could see something in that vein being added. That seems to be a theme that they like to do and something they think makes each generation unique. And so I could see some kind of new, unique mechanic somehow related to the idea of Sword and Shield being added towards the battling toolkit.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
They're definitely going to do
kinda-
something on that front.
I heard there was going to be more quest based. like more involved like with the story. Like I heard things about how like it's gonna be like there's gonna be like competing clans kind of thing, like the shield and the sword kind of thing. So I kind of think that's cool. I would like a more involved like kind of campaign mode, like story mode where like it's not so samey. That's kind of what I liked about Sun and Moon. It was a bit different.
It was a little different, yeah.
They need to speed up the pace of it on the whole if they're going to make it more story based, but in general, more story is better.
Agreed.
It's just different and interesting, at least, because I find if we just get another traditional game, kind of like Kalos Gen 6, I'm just going to be asleep the whole time.
I think that I feel like upping the scale is a requirement for this. Like I feel like
especially since
this
it's on
game
the Switch.
is gonna need like a bigger map. I feel like it's gonna need a bigger post game.
Yeah.
I saw some speculation that there could potentially be a situation where you visit Kalos in post game. I could see
that would be pretty cool.
There was something about because there's a train that heads due south in the Galar region. If you watch that like big overview map, there's a train line that heads south off the map, and there's obviously the real relationship between like France and the UK, where you can travel across the channel like by train. So I can see potentially some kind of link between Kalos and Galar being developed. I just think it needs to be on a scale like that. There's a lot to prove with this installment, and I think knocking it out of the park is going to be kind of important.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right with that.
Yeah, it's like me. You're still going to buy it up if it doesn't do that, though.
So, what are some of your major expectations or hopes for these games coming up? What would you like to see out of them the most?
The number one thing that I want to see is some type rebalancing. Nerf fairy.
Yeah.
Somehow. The most obvious way, in my opinion, to nerf fairy would be to make bug super effective against it.
Oh yeah,
I could see bug being effective. Yeah, that'd be good.
Whereas
good
now
way of doing it.
It resists.
Resists.
For some reason.
Not sure about that one.
I think fairy rebalancing is going to be important. It'll be interesting to see if that actually happens, just because the OU metagame has been dominated by the fairy type for so long that I don't even know what will happen. Like,
it would really shake up the competitive scene. I think it would. I think that'd be good, though. I think it's needed.
I'm just imagining a situation where friggin' Tapu Bulu drops to UU for a minute there.
Because bugs are...
Because if bug affects fairy, Bulu is going to be the first one to drop from OU.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Lele would be...
U-turn's just going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Lele wouldn't like it either.
Lele's faster.
Lele is faster, but U-turn would still hurt.
Yeah, Lele would suffer, I think. Just because it's already not super... Like, of the four, I don't think Lele is as prominent and as throttling on the metagame as, like, Coco and Lele can be.
Coco
it's not as prevalent on the ladder.
Yeah, Coco will be fine. Maybe you're right. Lele won't be able to handle like the inclusion now of a 4x weakness, because Bulu already deals with the 4x weakness.
And poison.
You could argue that adding a second one on top of that might be just like a nail in the coffin kind of situation as far as it being an OU. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so much bug prevalence though in OU, and there'll be so much more if it and U-turn is such a big part of competitive play.
Yeah, that's true.
If it ends up being 4 times weak to bug, it's definitely
that just make Mega Scizor even better.
Yeah, Mega Scizor
will get
the best Pokemon in the tier.
Yeah,
second
Volcarona will get a big buff with it.
Yeah, Volcarona will love that.
Yeah,
I think that Fairy will have to get rebalanced. I don't know how specifically, but I think it has to happen, or at least it has to is such a strong way. Like we deal with it now, it's fine, but like it would be
nice if it got a little nerf. Yeah,
it would be
or some of its counters got buffed a little bit, maybe.
Especially if one of these starters ends up being a fairy type.
Yeah. Yeah, if a starter ends up being a fairy, the fairy has to get nerfed a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a little bit of type rebalancing goes a long way. I think we're probably going to get a new evolution.
Ooh,
That'd be cool.
I don't know, but they've held firm now for even number generations are EV generations.
Yeah. What evolution would you like?
I could see them maybe going for another binary of some kind. Maybe, let's see. Maybe like rock steel. I could see steel.
Yeah.
Sword and shield. I could definitely see.
I
steel
oh
for
yeah. Yeah, no, that's
Oh.
true. Sword and Shield making a steel evolution.
Yeah.
I could see that for
That'd
sure.
be cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like a nice knighty, like regal looking Eevee? That's
Yeah,
really cool.
give it
I think it'd be really cool
give
for
it a
sure.
royal feel.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think that's probably the most likely, if we are to see a new evolution.
I think that's definitely a possibility.
Any other expectations for this generation? What are your thoughts, Connor?
I don't know. I haven't been playing competitive Pokemon long enough to see what a new generation does to the competitive scene, so I'm just really interested to see how much changes with all the new Pokemon added and potentially any balance changes and stuff like that. I've only been around for Gen 7. So I'm just excited to see how it changes and what changes and get some major meta shifts and stuff like that. I want to see some cool new Pokemon and see some strong ones come into the meta.
I hope they have a pretty big dex.
Yeah.
Like I hope that they go pretty high on the number of unique Pokemon, even if that means they have to tone down on a hypothetical Galarian variants of Pokemon. If that means they have to cut back on the number of Galar region equivalent Pokemon or Galar forms, then that's fine with me. I would just like a larger than average Pokedex. Be kind of cool to have another generation where we have 2 pseudos. That would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, we're so in the dark that I don't really know where to set my expectations. Aside from just like, oh, I hope that the stuff that's always in these games ends up being cool. I hope the legendaries are cool. I hope we get a cool pseudo.
Yeah.
Pseudo with a different type would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
A non-dragon one. It's been a while.
Yeah. That's true. What do you guys think of, like, how do you, there was a leak that I saw, again, not any idea on credibility, but they think the gym formatting will be different again. Do you want, do you want to go back to the classic gym formats, or do you want something a little different?
I would like the gym format to come back with more, not so much a twist, but just more like barrier to entry. Like I would like more situations where like they give you like a small dungeon before you find the gym leader, or there's some quest that you have to complete before the door opens, things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's been kind of thrown to the wayside.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't have as many situations like in, say, Gen 4, where Roark isn't in whatever that city's gym is right at the beginning, so you have to go find him in the mines. Like, that's not a thing that Pokemon really does all that much anymore, just because of the trials being a little bit more different.
Yeah, the trials were kind of the equivalent to that. But
I think it's good to go back to gyms, though.
Yeah. I think going back to gyms as a whole is good.
I'd be fine if they with the gym format, but kind of what I'm just hoping in these new games is because obviously they're trying to always bring back older players and new players, but I feel like the players that they kind of forget about are the ones that are like always around. So like I feel like the games just get so stale and boring because of one major thing is, well, we're all pretty competent players. We're all very competitive. And the games are just way too easy.
Oh man,
I tend to get bored.
Yeah.
What I would like to see, and I think it's long overdue, is have a beginner mode and have a expert mode.
An expert mode you can play right at the beginning too, not one that you have to unlock through completing the post game, because that's been in the games of the past, and that's stupid.
Yep.
So like what I would mean by that is have no tutorials. Like, I don't want anything explained to me. I don't want to have May coming up to me with her dumb music, have to listen to her talk about friendship and Pokemon, blah, blah, blah. No, give me my starter choice and let me go.
Just play.
And
yeah.
Basically have harder AI and, like, you know how, like, the gym, you have, like, the badges represent you can level up past that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, have the gym leaders at the highest level if on the
Right.
expert mode. So if the first gym badge is what, Pokemon after 15, listen to you, or whatever it is.
Something like
It's
that.
it's like
I
doesn't
think
it
it's
go up by
20. I think
tens?
it's
Isn't it like
20 to
20?
30,
Yeah.
40, 50, 60, 70, 80.
It's something like that.
Fine.
Yeah.
Have the first gym leader on expert mode have level 20 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Seriously, he should be the max level possible and have him have
He should be the threshold. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when I go to
full
the
teams,
elite,
like minimum number of Pokemon on a team should be like 4 for an AI team.
Yeah. Actually
except
have
for
them
when we get the
switch
Elite
and not
Four,
just sack
Yeah.
everything.
yeah, and Elite Four should just have a team of 6 and just like the hardest crap you can think.
Yeah.
Like I want Cynthia level teams for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I do think it'd be cool. I feel like it'd be a good addition to the games,
I agree.
especially for the more experienced players who have played through all the games and don't need the tutorials anymore, or want to experience the new things for themselves and not just be told everything. I like that. I think that's good.
I agree. They definitely needed to take a step back from the hand holding because there's a lot of backlash to that after Sun and Moon, and for good reason.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of their player base is older now too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when the game started, it was more a children's game, and children still play it, of course. But you have your older audience now too, with people like us who have been playing it since we were kids and have been playing it for years.
Hopefully, we see more flexing with the standard Pokemon equation than we have in games past. This is the opportunity to do it. And
I want to see some risks taken.
They've already done enough to showcase, like, all right, so the stuff that I want in there is going to be in there. I don't have to worry about stats being thrown out the window like they were in Let's Go. Don't have to worry about. I like having wild Pokemon battles. I like gyms. All that stuff is definitely in. Now show me what's new.
Mm-hmm. They have the standard equation. Just add some exciting things on top of it.
Exactly.
And more of
twist it up a
like
little
what they, twist it up and give us some more of what's other things people like. Like, yeah, give us a new evolution. Give us some new megas. Like, we don't need to abandon everything. Like, I think
new
people
megas really should be a thing.
Yeah.
And
I really like the
other
megas.
things. Like, give us a new terrain, maybe. Like, that doesn't need to be something that's all the time, but maybe a new terrain would be cool. I don't know. Give it to like a shitty low tier Pokemon. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrains are one of the more unique battling mechanics that have been added. I think there's a lot of room to play with.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I wonder if they'd consider some new weather, or even like
bad for weather.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in seeing
cool...
maybe if they would be willing to do more stat messing with weather, in the same way that when a rock type is in Sandstorm, you get a Spadef bonus. Be interesting if other bonuses like that were explored with weather and terrain.
Oh, for sure. Could you imagine if they had like this is something I've been thinking about for a while.
Yeah.
If they had like a swarm weather for like bug types, where like for like where you're like, if you're a bug type, like you would get like an attack boost or maybe even like a defense boost or just something.
Yeah, some sort of boost,
like swarm is active.
Yeah.
That could like make so many things viable. Like, could you see like Vespa Queen has summoned the swarm?
Oh my god!
And like,
yeah,
you're taking a little bit of chip damage, and it's just hitting you way harder. Like that would be fucking, and that would take a crappy Pokemon that's never used and give it some relevance.
It good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, something like that could totally shake up the metagame, especially if Leo's idea of making Fairy weak to Bug took effect too.
Oh god.
Bug would be the new strongest type.
Generation. Let's see what happens. Just ruin Fairy for a generation.
Just get rid of Fairy for a time.
Oh, that's awesome.
A lot of people are going to be like, oh, I would like new types, blah, blah, blah. I think that fixing the current type paradigm is something that needs to be focused on. Like, that's why I was like, oh, the Bug and Fairy thing is a big deal. But, like, you don't have to limit it to rebalancing Fairy. Hell, like...
Yeah.
Maybe rebalance Ice a little bit. Maybe
Yeah, make it
Give
so that
ice
ice
some
resists
resistances.
water.
yeah, maybe
I
rebalance
don't know
dragon
how
if
ice
you're
doesn't resist water.
actually afraid of having a dragon starter.
Yeah. Make ice resist itself.
I think
It
people are
does.
more willing to. Yeah, ice resists itself.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why I always think it. Yeah, it does. What am I saying?
It's the only
What is
thing it
it that doesn't?
resists.
Yeah, that's what it is. It doesn't resist anything other than.
Oh man.
And I get that it's supposed to be like fragile and whatever, but
All right. Well, do we want to call it there, or do we have more to talk about on this one?
I
Um,
I feel like we've had a pretty thorough conversation, but if you guys have any tags, little taglines to add on.
I don't know. Maybe just as a closing thing, what I'd like is for the in games, maybe have some kind of mode to improve competitive. So I've always been saying like having like a Pokemon Stadium esque fusion of like what they used to do with Pokemon Stadium, but introduce Pokemon Showdown elements into it would fix a lot of the hacking issues and
Oh, yeah.
cheating
Yeah.
and stuff that goes on in VGC. I think just completely bypass it and have at the start of the menu, you can have your adventure mode or your online stadium mode.
Yeah.
That would that could be what you
Give
use
you
it for
that
your
selection.
VGC
Yeah.
tournaments.
And like,
I think
and I'm
that-
comfortable catching stuff. I'm totally down to catch stuff. Give me the ability to edit EVs and IVs on the fly, and give me the ability
Yeah.
to edit movesets on the fly and be like really competitive about it. Because that's why I don't play on cartridge. I would play on cartridge.
It's a big reason for me.
I would play
That's
on
why
cartridge
everybody
even if I
wins,
still
just
had to catch
cheats.
all the mons. It's actually kind of cool that you would hypothetically
It's
have
fun
to catch
catching
your
all the mons.
online team.
Yeah.
But don't maybe go through all the stupid stuff. Because as much as I like the
Agreed.
complexity that it adds to the game, don't like the tedium.
Yeah. Cool.
Any other closing thoughts?
I feel pretty well tapped for ideas. A
Yeah.
lot of thoughts. Filled them up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just as a closing statement here, obviously, thanks, Connor, for coming on board with us on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good to have you.
As usual, if you want to be on the podcast, just let us know. We love the variety. Yeah, basically, just because the draft of power is coming to an end, don't think that the NACP is just going to die. We have so many plans, so many things coming up to keep you invested and active in a group.
Yeah.
We're not planning on just abandoning ship because the off season is here.
Even during the off season, we'll have short little, 2-day
Yeah.
tournaments.
The inclusion of the OBTTs,
Yeah.
great. Absolutely
Yeah.
great.
And I have actually some other things cooking up,
Awesome.
which I'll be discussing with Leo afterwards.
Nice.
But like I said, this group is going to remain active until the next big league. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys helping and support our podcast and the group.
Yeah. Always happy with the amount of attention these get. People seem to like them, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Signing out. Have a good one, everybody.